You know what? I can't do this review without a beer. Why do I need that? Because we're going way back into video game history. We're going past the 8-bit barrier. We're going back to the dark depths of video game history. And trust me, this shit is better left buried for all time. I'm going to talk about the single biggest pile of fucking donkey shit that has ever existed in video gamedom. It damn near drove the stake right through video games' heart. It's the Atari 2600. Now, when I started making these reviews, I had a cutoff point of nothing before the NES. Partially due to the fact that was the first system I ever owned. I didn't play it that much. I grew up with the Super Nintendo. Yes, the Genesis has a special place in my evil heart, but the SNES is probably my favorite system of all time. I came after Atari and its heyday. I mean, I was 3 when the Nintendo first came out. So why in the hell would I review games on this pile of shit? 2 reasons. 1, to show that this system was not the father of modern gaming consoles, the NES was. And 2, to show that this unholy pile of Satan vomit probably damn near destroyed video games in their infancy due to an incredible library of incredibly shitty games. But first, we gotta go back to 1982. Ah, 1982. It was a simpler time. No cell phones, internet, TV still came through that damn antenna on your roof. VHS and Beta were starting to duke it out. CD players first started to be sold in Japan. And video games, believe it or not, were actually made in the good old USA. And guess what? They sucked worse than getting a blowjob from a deranged kangaroo. Now, why am I so harsh on this video game system? Well, first off, it's barely a fucking video game system. Damn near every game for it had no fucking point. They were pointless point getters. Imagine how much fun that was for everyone. You'd be calling up your buddies and saying, "Hey man, you want to come over and play these radical new video games?" What do they do? Well, first, I'll play, then you. And eventually we'll keep playing the same shit over and over again and see who gets the highest score. Hello? Don't believe me? Let's take a look at some of the Activision games for the Atari. And they're one of the companies that is still around. Now, admittedly, I don't actually own an Atari 2600. These games came on a classic collection for the PlayStation. When I get done with this review, you'll see why I refuse to dirty my collection with this system that instead of getting a place of honor, should be having its fucking innards sold to make dildos for she-demons. So, you know what? This is actually kind of a double review, because while I will be critiquing the games in this, I will be also critiquing a few things that pissed me off about this game itself.
Okay, so the first game up is a game called Kaboom. In this game, I guess you catch or stop bombs dropped by the fucking Hamburglar with these 3 cookie look-alike things. I don't know what the fuck they are. Anyway, if a bomb reaches the bottom of the screen, you lose one of your cookie things. If all 3 cookie things are gone, then you lose the game. Point of the game? Getting points. So, yeah, the major problem with this game is the control. You can't actually control that thing well enough to stop bombs in time, and it sends it way the fuck over to one side of the screen, and you can't turn the damn thing around in time. So, yeah, no matter what, the Hamburglar always wins, I guess, in this piece of shit. Oh, next up is Laser Blast. Boy, well, this is the reverse of Missile Command. Instead of destroying incoming turrets from the sky, you get to destroy piles of shit on the ground. Outside of no point, if you can get the pattern down, you can go on forever and ever, because the number of things you get to blow up never changes. The pain in the ass about this game, you can't move and shoot at the same time. That's great. So to shoot at the fucking enemies, you have to be standing totally still, and you can't resume moving till this long-ass laser bolt leaves. By the time that usually happens, one of the other cat nipples on the ground will blast your ship out of the fucking sky. Fuck this game. It's about as much fun as getting an enema with a pressure washer. Look, I just got shot before I could do anything. Okay, getting back to the actual PlayStation disc itself, why the fuck do I have to keep hitting select all the fucking time to change games? And when I do, why do I have to go through a total fucking reset? Why not just have an option that brings me back to the title screen? Why do I have to keep going through every fucking startup screen?
That is something that has annoyed the hell out of me. From all games of any system, in any endeavor. Why the hell do they have an in-game reset? If you're gonna have one, I mean, you shouldn't, but if you're gonna have an in-game reset, just bring me back to the fucking title screen. Why the fuck do you gotta hard reset the game? Why would you program that? Why would you waste the space? The fucking hardware has a fucking reset button. What a waste of space for a totally useless function. Why would they program that? What asshole thought that was a good idea? Hey, I know we got a fucking reset button, but goddammit, I'm gonna program a hard in-game reset too. Fucking, if you're gonna program an in-game reset, just fucking bring me to the title screen and fucking end it. I don't need to see every fucking screen that I get when I start up the game.
Alright, now on to Stampede. I thought the fucking game froze, and then I realized that if you just let two cows get past you, the game ends. Just stops dead. Couldn't bother to program in two little words like game over. And since your lasso works about as well as John Bobbitt's dick, you'll play for about 45 seconds before you get to hit the reset button. Okay, let's look at another pointless point getter, or in this case, I don't even know if this is a fucking game, because I got no idea what the fuck to do. I don't know if I'm supposed to fly to point A to point B in this piece of shit, blow enemy ships out of the sky. Any enemy ship I ran across in this game, I shot 37 times, and the fucking thing didn't blow up. What is this? I mean, do I have the training lasers on or something?
This system sucks so much. Now, on to boxing. Even that wood panel piece of shit could not fuck up boxing. I mean, it's boxing, right? It's pretty fucking simple. Well, guess what? It's the most fucked up boxing game I have ever fucking played.
First off, the two boxers are like two sperm connected to a fucking whoopee cushion duking it out. And guess what? It's a pointless point getter. There's no life bar. You get 2 minutes to beat the shit out of each other, and whoever scores the most hits wins the fight. That's it. Wow. Moving along, this is a game called Freeway. It's basically two chickens trying to cross the road. And this is a two-player game, meaning there is no computer opponent. If you're playing by yourself, you're just sitting there crossing the road. Except, there is no way to die in this game. There's no way to end it. It's a never-ending point-getting game that you have to keep track of yourself. You have to give yourself a time limit. There's not even a time limit in this game. This is the epitome of a pointless game. Finally, we come to one of the few games that the Atari made famous, Pitfall. Yes, that classic game. But guess what? It still barely registers as a game. I mean, yes, there's puzzles to figure out and all that shit, but the object is just to get through it as fast as possible. I mean, there's no final guide, there's no anything, there's just that. You just get through the same amount of shit in the quickest amount of time. I mean, I'll give this game credit. At least it has some decent control going for it, and it's not just mind-numbingly boring and terrible to play. But that's it. It's still just barely a game.
Alright, after chaining 37 Latvian lesbians in my basement, I finally have the proof that I need to prove that the 2600 was the biggest disaster for video games and damn near killed it and should be sent down to the depths of hell where it belongs and not prized and praised by collectors. Alright. In 1983, the market is fully saturated with terrible fucking games that only a lunatic who eats his own shit every morning would enjoy. Today, we don't have many game companies. The reason is licensing fees and the fact that most game companies now have to deal with a measure of quality control because they have to make games that will play on either Xbox 360, PlayStation 3. Hell, this goes back to NES. Nintendo was the first company that actually said, no, if you want to make a game for our system, you have to go through us. And it got better with the Super Nintendo and PlayStation and all that shit. Okay. Now, back then, back in 79, 80, 81, the first video game craze, every motherfucker was trying to cash in on it. For Christ's sakes, Purina, the dog food company, and Gerber, the baby food company, had video game divisions for the Atari 2600. Not joking, either. This was due to the fact that the 2600 cartridges had no lockout system, so any asshole with a soldering iron and any half-assed programmer could sell games. That means they saturated the market with several games that were terrible. And also several games that were also hyped up to hell, like Chuckwagon, a game made by the Purina company that I mentioned. They're fucking terrible! Then came the two biggest stakes in the 2600's heart, but first, a beer break. Thank you. Okay, the Pac-Man port on Atari was rushed. They wanted to make the 1981 Christmas season, producing a piss-poor imitation of the arcade original. That and Atari grossly overestimated the number of sales they were going to get. They sold about half of what they produced. That and their massive ad campaign gave Atari bigger losses than Charlie Sheen's checkbook takes after a night with 10 hookers and a cocaine dealer. Then in 1982, guess what? It happened again, only it was worse. This time, it was E.T., that movie that stole our hearts and raped the video game industry. It is one of the worst games of all time. I will admit that. The Atari does have a champion in its mix. There is not a worse game out there than E.T. I mean, you gotta be delving far down into the shit heap to find one. But it was severely rushed. It was only given 6 weeks of developmental time, which was exceedingly short even by Atari standards, because they wanted to make the 82 Christmas season. And this game was so fucking bad, it was literally buried in a landfill in New Mexico. That's fucking bad. So by that time, the 83 crash was inevitable, and games almost went the way of Crystal Pepsi and Fred Savage's career. Fortunately, in 1985, everything changed.
So, in 1985, we got our saving grace here in America. Nintendo was released with possibly the greatest video game character of all time, leading the way, Mario. Super Mario Bros. Came down and gave players the lightning bolt they needed to keep playing. This was one of the first games that had a point to it for players. I don't know. Maybe it was because this game had a fucking ending to look forward to and strive to get. There was a goal. I mean, you had to rescue fucking Princess Peach away from the evil clutches of Bowser, right? I mean, she's been kidnapped like 436 times. I tend to think the bitch likes it, but you know what? Fuck it. Oh well. This game had a point. This game had replay value. This game kept you challenged until you seen the ending screen.
Well, that's my look back at Atari 2600 and all the damage that that piece of panda piss caused. So while it does have a place in history, I say it deserves to be dead and buried, and may it rot in the hottest blazes of hell forever!